Hello guys, this is your friend. We are back with a new fanfic, which is Naruto x Kaguya, Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic, then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start a new fanfic. Thousand of years ago, walked through the thick forest of a great mountain, several powerful looking men can be seen led by a much younger teen about 17 or 18 in age and around 5 feet 4 feet in height. The teen had a bow in hands. This is confusing. I'm pretty sure the direction to the peak was here, yes. The teen said, scratching the back of his neck as confusion took over him. No, he was not lost. Not at all. Yes, Your Highness. The path was here just yesterday. The witch must have changed the landscape to confuse us. And yes, they're here to hunt a witch. One that was said to have killed dozens of kids from his empire in cold blood. I see. Then spread. A mere witchcraft will not lead us astray. Ooh. Yes, Your Highness. Thus, within a few minutes, the teen stood alone and unguarded in the middle of a forest that he supposedly knew like the back of his hand. Took a lone arrow from its sheath on his back, the teen readied it as he began to walk to the opposite direction that his underlings took. From the literatures he read, witches were very good at misdirection. So perhaps if he went to opposite direction, he might meet her. His guess was correct. It took him a half an hour of walking, but the moment he took the last step, the surrounding around him began to change like an illusion which got unveiled right in front of his eyes. Freeze. Witch. He didn't let the scene of illusion charm him, nor he let his own curiosity get the better of him, because the moment he saw the change in his surrounding, he pointed his bow forward. He sensed a breath of living being in that direction despite he was not able to see it, or her. Quote. But it was then, the moment he caught the sight of her, he froze. Taller than any female he met, the witch stood at rather impressive height of 175 centimeters or 5 feet 7 feet even without using Geta sandals. Her white hair draped her shoulders just like strands of the finest silk. And her eyes. Beautiful. But the teen stood mesmerized only for a few seconds, because not long after, his eyes hardened when he stared at the frozen woman in front of him. A witch. One that have killed dozens of the children from his empire. Witch. Shuddered, afraid, and yet also confused, the woman said this to him with a hint of confusion in her tone. The teen didn't let the woman's tone confuse him even for a second. Don't try to fool me, witch. You have killed dozens of children who came to the mountain in cold blood. Confess, and I shall give you a painless death. While the teen was saying this, his eyes never left his target. The middle area of the woman's forehead. One arrow to that area, and she's death. Witch or not. I don't know what are you talking about, Emperor Sama. I'm here to guard the divine tree, Shinju. My name's Kaguya Otsutsuki, and I know I never show my face to the public, but you can call me the head priestess of the Shinju and it won't be wrong. You can ask the other priestesses for testimonies if you don't believe me. At first, the teen was suspicious from the fact the woman knew about his status as the emperor. But as she began to explain that she was in fact the guardian of the Shinju, the teen began to falter. He didn't sense any lie from her words. Kekaki. Ha ha ha. Don't trust her words, my lord. She a liar. The teen was quick to spin his bow to block a sword that would have taken his neck if he didn't. But still, the strike still surprised him and he hadn't prepared much strength in his block. Thus, it didn't surprise him when he was thrown to the direction of the witches. He simply rolled a little on the ground. His eyes watching the newcomer with wariness and a hint of surprise. Behind him, the witch was watching the exchange. Tora, what's the meaning of this? Oh, come my lord. If I really wanted to kill you, I would never yell unnecessary, right? Despite the man's words, his grin was still too unnerving. So much that the teen was giving his own glare to the man, refusing to cower. The man didn't like that. Okay, I want to kill you. And then I'll kill that woman behind you so I can eat her heart. Didn't you know, my lord? She has been around for 100 years and yet look at her. She's still as beautiful as ever, which means she must be a Ningyo. Ningyo, creature of the sea known for their longevity. Legend also said whoever eat the heart of Ningyo shall gain eternal youth and will not die by any normal means. But to the teen, all of this was just a nonsense. So you put her to blame for the death of the children, so I rally my people to search for her. Yes. After all, gods know how many years it'll take for me to find her alone. But still, I didn't expect you to meet her within a day, my lord. I see, so you poised your sword at me. Slander the name of innocent woman. All so you can get an eternal life. The teen stood here while nodding a little. To him, everything was clear now. In the name of my ancestors, I sentence you to death, Tora. A year later. So, you came from the stars. The teen, now full-fledged emperor after he fully gained the trust of his people, sat at the edge of the cliff behind the great tree god, Shinju. And sat beside him, Kaguya. Yes. And just like me, Shinju also came from the stars. It was actually me who planted it here. I see. Nope. Not really. He didn't see, or understand, anything Kaguya said. How many times he tried to wrap his head around it. Thus, he just shrugged off his shoulders. And maybe because she sensed this, Kaguya smiled beautifully at his direction. She was amused. For a human, emperor too at that, he was too carefree and too kind-hearted. Not only that, unlike most humans, he was not power-hungry. No. To him, power was not interesting, simple as that. How many times had she told him about how the fruit atop the tree can give anyone who ate it a divine-like power? How many times had she told him about the wish-granting orb several miles away from his empire? Story after story that could make humans salivating, and the emperor merely gave her a small and uninterested, I see, at every end of her stories. And yet, when she told him about what she liked, what her hobbies are, and how she felt about some flowers or something like those, the emperor always had a glint in his eyes. Like a kid that was told that there was a candy hidden somewhere. He liked her, Kaguya's mind concluded. Emperor, you're so funny. Kaguya said honestly as she hid her smile behind the wide sleeve of her kimono. All the while, her eyes was looking down on the teen who had a cute blush on his face after she gave him a small compliment. Yes, to her, he was cute. And yes, she liked him too. He showed her something that her clan never had even among their own family members. Love and affection. I have to tell you that I'm not funny whatsoever, Kaguya, don't laugh. Of course, instead of stopping, when Kaguya saw how red the emperor's face was, her laugh became louder. And yes, she was laughing so hard that her stomach began to hurt. But still, in her heart, she felt a pleasant feeling. Like hundreds of butterflies were flying inside it. Another year later. Kaguya, I know you're the guardian of Shinju and has lived for hundreds of years. But if I may ask, would you like to spend your life with me as my wife? Wearing a set of grand-looking kimono and a pair of tall Geta sandals so he was as tall as Kaguya, at the very least the emperor said this bluntly the moment Kaguya came out of her hut after she heard his knock. Of course, he blushed in embarrassment when the woman gave him a raised eyebrow. He expected a smile, or laugh. He didn't expect such uninterested face fro. I accept. Did he hear that right? And maybe because she saw his confusion, a smile in the end broke on Kaguya's face. However, Emperor, I have no money, I have no land, and I literally have nothing but this small hut behind me. Are you really sure you want to marry someone like me? Each word that came out of her own mouth pained Kaguya. It pained her because everything she said was the truth. She was a princess of a powerful clan, born to rule, yet discarded to the backwater planet the moment the elders saw how weak she actually was. She was a disgrace. And here, she's just a guardian of a tree. Kaguya, the emperor, the man who gave her life a meaning, called her name. With slightly teary eyes, Her attention went to him once again. She didn't even realize that she was crying prior to his call. And here, the Emperor gave her a kind smile, full of love and kindness for someone as unworthy as her. You'll have me, as long as you want. Thus, for the first time in her life, Kaguya cried in happiness. Another year. Awawa, my hip hurt. As she was following her husband to his throne, Kaguya had a small patch of blush on her cheeks when she saw her dearest emperor pat his hip a little with an uncomfortable look on his face. It seemed painful. I'm sorry, husband. Kaguya said to her husband, knew full well that it was her fault that his hips hurting. In her defense, she never knew that the activity called was very enjoyable. Sure, the first night, her dearest husband had to guide her in what to do. The second night, she broke their bedding, night after night. After. And ever since their wedding a year ago, there was no single night without. Simply because to Kaguya, the moment she and her husband connected their bodies, it was MNN. There was no word grand enough that can explain just what she feels about her with her husband. It's alright, my rabbit empress, a pained hip is not going to deter me from spending my night with you. The emperor said as he was giving his wife a wink. Kaguya's face flushed with even redder blush the moment she saw this. Stop calling me that. It's embarrassing. Rabbits. Animal known for their drive, or at least, that what people said and believed. And probably because servants passed the emperor's chamber every night only to hear the lewd sound of, they gave Kaguya such nickname. By now, the nickname already spread to the civilian population. The emperor didn't know how his people interpret such nickname, but for him as Kaguya's husband it was very accurate. It also sounded cute and endearing. Thus, to him, Kaguya was his rabbit empress. Of course, dearest. Of course. Time skip. Kaguya, please run without me, I'll hold them as long as I can. And no, husband, please don't say that. The emperor ignored the plea of his wife as he gave her a little push to the direction of the Shinju. Behind him, his men stood waiting, their expressions cold and stiff when they heard the sound of incoming horses. The emperor heard this too, and he immediately gave Kaguya his back while wielding his bow. My rabbit empress, please live. For me and for our child. Husband. Please. Kaguya. Kaguya cannot see the expression her husband had. But from his tone alone, she knew, he was not asking her. It was a beg. He was begging her to run and survive without him. With tears streaming down on her cheeks, Kaguya turned tail and ran as fast as she can toward the direction of Shinju. Her husband wanted her to run to Shinju because no matter how daring his enemy was, they won't dare to attack Shinju nor anyone inside it. But Kaguya, she had another plan. Husband, please wait for me, once I eat the divine fruit, I'll save you. She was a failure of Otsutsuki clan. Her body was weak even compared to her clan's servants. And she knew, to eat the divine fruit would be a sure way to kill herself. Considering her weak body probably won't be able to handle the powers the fruit may give her. But for her husband, even to put her own life on the line. She's willing. Husband, don't die. Tears streamed even harder when Kaguya heard the sound of battle behind her. Gods, demons, she only wanted one thing, and one thing only. And that is for her husband to stay safe and sound. Dot, 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 dot. It took time, but in the end, Kaguya arrived at the peak of the Shinju, holding her stomach. It hurt. It hurt so much. Nonetheless, Kaguya ignored the pain as she began to walk toward the hovering divine fruit that looked like a normal peach if one were to see it, albeit glowing a little. And when she saw the glow, Kaguya's eyes showed a little bit of hope. The fruits, reacting to her presence. It should increase her chance of survival. Quote, quote. With a pair of trembling hands, Kaguya took the hovering fruit and put it in front of her lips. Bite. Her stomach burns from the first bite she took as chakra began to gather inside her body. Her pathways, long sealed by her clan, began to open up one by one, painfully. Bite. Crack. Her bones cracked and repaired as Kaguya began to grow from already impressive 5 feet 7 feet to monstrous 7 feet 0 feet. More than 2 meters tall in height. The pain was almost unbearable. Bite. Silky white hairs began to float magically as each strand became so long that it was even longer than her already tall body. This one's not painful at all. Bite. The pain came back as chakra once again began to converge atop her head, so painful that Kaguya lost her consciousness for a small second. But she willed herself to come back, knowing what was on the line. Unknown to her, 2 bone-like horns already sat on her head. Bite. Ah. This time, no matter how durable she was and no matter how high her will was, Kaguya can't help but to scream in anguish as chakra exploded from her forehead and eyes. Rinne Sharingan, awakened. Sealed by a Kugan, awakened. But no, it was not the pain that made her scream in anguish. Her eyes let her see everything for miles. And when she focused her attention to the battlefield where she left her husband, she saw him, lying on his own pool of blood. It was at this day, Kaguya experienced rage for the first time. And the world itself shook when she did. Later. Fleshes turned to dust swept by the winds. Bones became nothing but sands on the ground. And weapons were buried under all of these. Husband. In the middle of such grim clearing, Kaguya knelt down, scooping the body of her dearest with nothing but gentleness in her touch. He's alive, but his vitals had been wounded so much that it was impossible for him to survive. Hell, it was a miracle that he's still breathing. Cough. Kaguya. As the dying emperor coughed several blobs of blood, Kaguya cried and embraced him. The crimson smearing her kimono was little to no concern for her as long she can embrace the love of her life. Husband, I'm so sorry. Sorry because she was not fast enough. Sorry because she didn't know how to save him even with all of the chakra running through her veins. And sorry because she killed so many people in front of him. Alas, the emperor was dying, he cannot hear the words she said. Nor he can feel the warmth his wife gave to him through her embrace. Kaguya, I have nothing and now, not even a small hut, would why you still love me. Through his words, blobs of blood kept coming out from the emperor's mouth as he coughed them out again. Kaguya cried even harder here. And just like a child, she started to bawl in sobs. You'll still have me, forever and ever, I'm yours. I promise. Maybe it was coincidence, but right after Kaguya finished her words, her cry of anguish became louder. In the dead silence of the night, she lost her husband. 20 years later, sat still on top of a very regal throne, Kaguya gave off a very demanding aura that only royalty can make. Her eyes narrowed. What is that son of mine doing now? With her all-seeing eyes, it was very easy for Kaguya to see that her firstborn, Hagoromo Otsutsuki, was giving lesson to some civilians. As for her second-born, younger than his brother by a few minutes at most, Homura Otsutsuki, he was meditating. And of course, her question was pointed toward Hagoromo. Teaching humans. HMPH. What a stupid thing to do. She'll let him do what he wants to do for now, though. After all, it seemed Hagoromo is yet to mature unlike his little brother. Here, Kaguya stood. Zetsu. Yes, my queen. Her shadow followed suit and stood. A perfect replica of her majestic and beautiful figure, only black from head to toes except for a pair of yellow, predatory eyes. And when the creature spoke, her mouth opened, showing the unmoving flesh underneath. Her host, a human woman she captured to become her bones. Of course, it wasn't consensual. But after a full day of black goo raping her mouth, vagina, and asshole, the woman in the end gave up and now consent to spend the rest of her life trapped inside a goo creature who'll rape her day and night. Quote. For a small second, Kaguya took a small glance toward the woman trapped inside the black zetsu with nothing but disgust. Said disgust multiplied when the woman she watched shamelessly came like a slut. Human. Alas, It was needed. Black Zetsu was her very first creation, tasked to find the reincarnation of her dearest husband. However, because it was her first creation, the creature was imperfect and was not able to shape its own body. Thus, it was nothing but a black moving puddle for a few days. A week after that, the creature was able to shape itself into a man. A man. Her will-given shape became a man. She was rightfully angry and annoyed. But she was patient and tried to teach the creature how to shape itself into a woman, at the very least, a girl. It was hard. Because it was literally a puddle of living shadow, every time Zetsu tried to create a pair of S, said S would always fall to the ground. After a few days of trying and failing, in the end Kaguya decided that enough was enough. Mercilessly, the goddess teleported to the city at night and captured a woman with the most impressive body, one that she threw to Zetsu after she teleported back. Eat her. Eat. W.H. Menip. Kaguya still remembers it vividly how the woman became a panic mess as black tendrils wrapped her body parts one by one until nothing can be seen anymore. The woman struggled, punching and kicking Black Zetsu from the inside. Even if Zetsu knocked the woman unconscious, she would surely continue her struggle the very second she woke up, was the very thought that crossed Kaguya's mind at the time. And because Zetsu was young and yet to understand about, Kaguya's order for the creature was simple. Insert and extract your goo into the woman's holes except for her eyes and nostrils until she calmed down, and when she did, quicken the pace. Thus, the entire history of why Zetsu was able to remain in a woman-like shape instead of a puddle-like state or its stupid man-like shape. Yes, it would need a living woman to be used as bones. But Kaguya was sure that with time, Zetsu will be able to hold her female form without any difficulty. Maybe. Plus, a few women are not something Kaguya care about. Anyway, have you found him? My husband. I haven't, my queen. I think he's yet to reincarnate. For a small second, the Empress Goddess had her bottom lip tremble from sadness. Kaguya was losing her mind. It has been 20 years and she had searched every corner of the world and was yet to find the reincarnation of her dearest husband. Still, all she can do for now is wait. Let's go to the usual place. The moment Black Zetsu connected her shadow to her, Kaguya waved her wide sleeve and transported herself along with the creature to one of her secret places. 1 second, she was in her throne room. Another second, and she stood in a dark room under the god tree, Shinju. And the room was massive, with a throne made by dark onyx sat at the edge of a cliff where Kaguya could see the entire process of her experiments. What kind of experiment? HMPH. Quote, quote. Kaguya sat on her dark throne. Her eyes took a small glance toward the ceiling, the roots of Shinju itself. Hundred upon hundred of women were there, dazed and cocooned by tendrils of roots that covers their head to toes. Every few seconds, juice dripped off from their pussies as tendrils dug into their cunts and injected a small amount of corroding chakra of deity into their bodies. Thud. As the chakra of deity fully corroded a woman, she fell from her cocoon onto the ground below. Her previous appearance now no longer can be seen. Not as tall as Kaguya, but still stood at impressive 2 meters, the woman was. Her skin was snow white, her green hairs wild and untamed, yet still reached her waist. And lastly, her eyes were predatory yellow just like Black Zetsu. White Zetsu. And surrounding the newly born White Zetsu, thousands of creatures just like her can be seen stood like statues awaiting command. 20 years. And each year, the humans gave 200s of their young women to the Shinju to appease Kaguya's rage. Literally said, Kaguya now had an army of more than 3,800 White Zetsu. With the rest of 200s were still in the middle of their transformation. My queen, I don't think you should stay here for long. This place reek of lust and women, liquid. Black Zetsu said as respectfully as she could toward her creator and mother. Kaguya herself merely gave her a small glance when she heard the creature spoke. I'll stay here for a few more minutes. After she said this, Kaguya leaned her back against the backrest of her throne and closed her eyes. Her mind, empowered by the divine fruit, was connected to the Shinju almost instantly. Shinju, and its roots. Twitch. *MNH. She could feel the smallest twitch the cocooned women made. She could hear the smallest mewl escape the women mouth. And each time, her own craving for began to bubble. She was the rabbit empress, known for her high libido and never-ending drive. She was the rabbit goddess, simply because her horns were shaped like a pair of rabbit's ears. And there was only one man in her heart, the emperor. Quote. Still, her libido was not something she could easily suppress and contain. Thus, with nothing but thought, Kaguya searched for the most endowed woman among the women she captured. And when she did, she immediately took control of the roots cocooning said woman. GHHMNNPPH. Illusion placed on the woman broke when Kaguya mercilessly raped the woman's 3 holes. Her muffled scream of pain and pleasure immediately filled the whole room as the goddess did this. Kaguya didn't care. Nor did she care when the woman began to struggle, as she simply willed the Shinju to cocoon the struggling woman with another layer of tendril. In less than a minute, Kaguya was satisfied as her used toy fell to the ground, fully corroded and joining the rest of white Zetsu. That should take care of her libido for a week, at most. She had to be as sparing as she can when it comes to her limited toys, after all. Quote. With nothing but a thought, Kaguya left her secret room. 30 years later. This place is wet. Once again inside her secret tomb, Kaguya frowned a little when she realized how wet the room was after 50 years of constantly having women dripping their juice again and again every single day. The lewd smell was unbearable even to her now. My queen, let me take care of it. Quote. Kaguya didn't say anything to respond to the creature for a few seconds. But after few seconds passed, she nodded to herself. Gather their liquid, I have a plan for those. Understood. Inside the room, time and space was at Kaguya's beck and call. And thus, until she allowed those women juices to dry up, they simply won't. And it was for this reason that when Black Zetsu came back to her, the blob of liquid hovering behind her was almost as big as a small mountain. The lewd smell became even more unbearable, so much that Kaguya frowned for a quick second. But still, the goddess stood and walked until she was right beside the huge blob of female's juice. And here, she spoke. I shall give you a chance to live to your desire, lust. Your mission is to go to the land of that, terrorize the people there, capture the women and strengthen yourself by absorbing their essence. From her sleeve, Kaguya took out a blank, white-colored no mask which she injected with her own will and massive amount of libido. And after she did, she stick the mask on the blob. From now on, your name is Reebi. The change was obvious. The moment Kaguya gave the creature its name, a kanji for 0 ling, ray appeared on the forehead of the mask. At the same time, the blob began to turn dark in color as it changed its shape. Soon, a huge creature resembling dark purple leech with a serpent-like body was made, with the mask acting as its face. It didn't take long for the newly made Reebi to understand its mission as with a screech, it dug the ground and began to slither in the direction of the land of that, mysteriously without damaging the ground. Still inside the secret room, Kaguya took her seat on her throne once again. Happy that the unbearable scent of lewdness now disappeared. Zetsu, I made Reebi with my will just like how I made you. Treat her like a sister. Just like Black Zetsu, Reebi was also genderless. However, Kaguya didn't call the creature it, simply because she did such thing to Zetsu and it became a man right in front of her. So yeah, she's going to treat Reebi as female before the creature chose its own form. Plus, it would be strange for a creature made with female's fluid to become a man. This Zetsu understood and thankful for this kindness, my queen. I shall treat Reebi as my own sister and teach her about everything she needs to know. Zetsu was ecstatic. For years, there was only her and her queen, trying and failing to find the reincarnation of the emperor. And now, their family got another member inside the fold. When the emperor return, he'll be loved. 20 years later. Mother, have you gone crazy? Hovering in the sky above the Shinju, Hagoromo, her firstborn, screamed at her. Under them, thousands of people were cocooned by the god tree as Kaguya willed it to the chakra those people had, and no, she didn't give those people any kind of pleasure this time. In contrast, she made sure to make the process as painful as possible. No, son, have you gone crazy? What stupid idea crossed your mind when you gave those humans chakra? My chakra. At the end of her words, Kaguya was growling with anger as the veins at the sides of her eyes pulsed powerful amount of chakra. It was her who ate the divine fruit. It was her who had to endure the pain of losing her dearest in a war. It was her who gave her children chakra so they can protect themselves. And now, Hagoromo dared to think that he had the right to spread her chakra to humans as if chakra was some kind of leaves that grow on tree. Stupid. That's what. Chakra can connect people, mother. Just like you, I wish for peace. If people can understand each other through chakra, peace will surely happen. You gave people chakra and so they will be able to do this. With a demonic scream and a wave of her hand, Kaguya sent a powerful storm toward her son. Of course, she didn't make it strong enough to hurt him. But still, Hagoromo guarded his face before any debris could enter his eyes. I believe they will not do such a thing, mother. I'll teach them the correct way. Foolish, Kaguya said simply. It was short, but her eyes alone spoke how she thought about her firstborn son's plan. Stupid. How long did he think he's going to life? Even with powerful blood of Otsutsuki running through his veins, Hagoromo was still a half-human. Time will be the end of him no matter what he said and do. And when his death comes, how long it would take before humans start to weaponize chakra? Not long enough, Kaguya believed. Quote. One hand raised. Kaguya gave the coldest stare she ever gave toward her son. And Hagoromo could only stare in horror as he felt the Shinju's roots spread across the whole planet and captured all humans on it with its tendrils. 1 year. Kaguya spoke coldly and without any remorse whatsoever. Once 1 year has passed, these humans will die as my chakra inside them return to me. Plan your next move carefully within a year, Hagoromo. I'll wait for you on top of the Shinju. With those as her last words, Kaguya left her downtrodden-looking son as she teleported to the peak of Shinju and sat there in a seiza position. It was not until her son flew in the direction of his twin that Kaguya called her first creation. Zetsu, I'll let my stupid sons to seal me with whatever technique they can think of. I want you to seal the entrance to my secret room and manage it in my absence. My Q Queen. From her shadow, the goo-like creature shaped just like her came out. Her liquid body trembled in nervousness after she got her new order. Kaguya gave the creature a pair of eyes that said no, she won't change her mind. I want to sleep. Without my husband, this life feels hollow and empty. And her sons were stupid, it seemed. Take some of my chakra and roam the planet, you might manage the creation of White Zetsu, but don't forget your main reason. Find the reincarnation of my husband, and once you do, wake me up from my slumber. Despite still somewhat hesitant, Black Zetsu in the end walked until she stood in front of her creator and knelt down on one knee to show her reverence. This Black Zetsu understood, my queen. However, if I'm allowed to ask, instead of chakra, I'd like to have another little sister that I can call as my own, Reebi, she's a rebel. Of course, Reebi. Thinking about that creature's attic alone was enough to put a migraine on Kaguya's head. Her order was simple. Go to the land of that and create as much ruckus as you can. Also empower yourself if you got the chance. Ruckus, that's what Kaguya told her. And yet, what did Reebi do? She swallowed the whole nation, killed thousands of men and caught thousands of women to be constantly raped inside her rapidly growing body. By this point, Reebi's already as big as a mountain and even titled, the Demon Lord of Darkness and Lust, by the masses. She'd be targeted by her sons sooner or later, that's for sure. Alright. As gently as she could, Kaguya held some batches of her hair in her hand and cut them. Her will to reunite with her husband. Her unconditional love for him. And her infinite amount of lust for him. As Kaguya began to inject these feelings of hers into the hairs, they began to change color from white into crimson red. The color was unexpected, but it still put a soft smile on the goddess's face. It reminded her of red strings of fate. A crimson wind flowers. Fuka, that shall be your name from now on. Roam the planet and find my love, that will be your main mission. Magically, the strands of hair began to levitate in front of her and became longer until she was about 2 meters in height. In the place of where a face should be, a black faceless center can be seen with a pair of predatory yellow eyes. Quote, quote. Go, Zetsu, teach her everything I taught you once. Yes, my queen. Thus, Zetsu disappeared along with her new sister, leaving Kaguya all alone while trying to take as much chakra as she can from the humans before her foolish sons came. And while she did, she was dreaming about the days she spent with her love. The day she sat at the cliff with him, holding hands. The day she laughed so freely when he told her some jokes. The day he shyly kissed her lips after their wedding ceremony. And the day they made their love. My love, please wait for me. Under the moonlight, Kaguya smiled as she dreamed of the day where she could be reunited with the love of her life once again. And when that day happened, she will protect him. If there was a word that one Naruto Uzumaki could use to explain his life, then it would be simple. Shitty. Yes, his life was shitty as hell. Born in the 10th October, the day where the Kyuubi attacked the village, he was seen as a pariah and the bringer of bad luck almost instantly. It didn't help that his parents died and no one knew about their identities for some reason. Those reasons above alone made his life bad. But it didn't stop there. Because for some reason, he was haunted since the day he was born. Yes, haunted. From what he heard, it started with a small rumor of items around him were moving around when he was a baby. Followed by another bigger rumor that he was apparently blonde and his hair became white overnight. One person even dared themselves to say that they saw a black, shadow-like creature giving him a feed when he was crying. All the while, humming a very haunting tone. That was terrifying. As for Naruto himself, he was too terrified to stare into a mirror since the day he understood what the word, ghost, means. Because from what he heard, add the fact the other kids kept teasing him about it, the very second he truly meet the ghost that was haunting him, he'd be spirited away. No one really know what spirited away mean, of course. But kids had a very creative imagination, and thus, Naruto decided that he didn't want to get eaten by ghost. Not when ghost itself cannot be touched, and he'd be literally defenseless the moment he met it. Naruto, stop daydreaming and answer the question. Alas, his thought broke when a chalk hit him right on the dead center of his forehead. The boy, 12 years old age in a few months, immediately covered his forehead while hissing in pain. Although, he laughed nervously when he saw the angry expression of his teacher. Ahahaha, I'm sorry sensei. Can you please repeat the question? He didn't hear it, after all. For the answer, one Iruka Yumino pointed at the edge of the room near the door. Stand there with one leg. You should know already by now that I won't accept any slouch behavior, Naruto. Hi, Naruto answered with a roll of eyes as he walked to the area where Iruka pointed to. All the while, his classmates were laughing at him. Said laugh became louder when Naruto stood with one leg, although he merely gave them a small pout of annoyance. By now, the area he was standing on has been dubbed as lazy people chair, because thus far, only him, Shikamaru, or Kiba who got constantly punished this way. All three were lazy in some ways or another. Sensei, how long do I need to do this? Iruka, who just now wanted to write another lesson on the chalkboard, stopped for a few seconds, seemingly thinking. Although in the end, his punishment was as merciless as always. Till my class end, Naruto. Till my class end. You don't need to repeat that, sensei. Comically, Naruto raged a little when Iruka said his punishment 2 times. Uncaring, said sensei merely started to write on the chalkboard. Keep you focused now, Naruto. You don't want to stand outside and let the children from other classrooms see you, right? And that shut Naruto's mouth before he can speak another word. GHK. A few minutes since Naruto kept his silent, his stomach growled a little. He wants ramen. Nearby, a girl who looked a little bit older than the rest of her classmates let out a small smile when she saw Naruto getting punished once again. Her eyes, a pair of infamous Byakugan, showed nothing but amusement for the boy's plight, knowing he must be hungry because he didn't get to eat breakfast in the morning. The first thing she did the very second she woke up was to use her Byakugan to peep on him, after all. Just as she was thinking like this, a 4-pointed mark on the back of her right hand glowed a little with a dim light, followed by a powerful voice which rang in her mind. Do not stare at him too much, descendant. I may have given you an approval to become my husband's concubine, but you are yet to be worthy enough for that. You're still weak. Almost immediately, the girl's eyes went back to the direction of the teacher. Nervous and shy when her own ancestor reprimanded her for her slight. More than 6 years since she got the mark and hear the voice of her ancestor in her mind, the girl knew how to differentiate the tone of her clan ancestor. And right now, the woman's annoyed. I'm sorry, Kaguya-sama. I just can't help but to stare when Naruto-kun was pouting so cutely. The girl said with nothing but honesty. And maybe because she sensed this or simply because she knew her words to be fact, Kaguya Otsutsuki, the ancestor of the Hyuga clan, didn't continue her reprimand. But she still let out a small harumph. HMPH. You speak fact. However, do not forget your mission, girl, raise your strength. I shan't be happy if you still wish to become my husband concubine, yet still as weak as civilian. For a bit, the girl's lips twitched a little. She was kind of upset that the ancestor living inside her still think her as a little girl who's as weak as a civilian when actually, she'd be the best genin in the whole school if she didn't have to hide her power. She was no longer the girl scared of her own shadow. No longer the girl who let the words from her own family hurt her heart. No longer the girl who simply knelt down as other children threw snowballs at her and waited until her prince came to help her pathetic self. No. 6 years ago, she has vowed that she's the one who gonna protect him. My son was as strong as your so-called cage, when he was nothing but a 3-year-old baby. So, before you can defeat that cage of yours in pure combat, you'll always be a civilian in my eyes. Easily heard the girl's heart, the goddess spoke. Kaguya-sama, your son was the sage of 6 paths. And you're my descendant. My blood flow in your veins. And my presence in this karma seal has made you the purest Hyuga compared to the others from your clan, even bringing you as the closest thing as pure as a Hyuga can get. So, stop whining and keep training. Cannot win against that argument, the girl let out a small sigh from her lips. Her eyes were on the board while one of her palms playing around with her shoulder-length indigo-colored hair. She gave up. Yes ma'am, I'll train harder. Good. This night, I want you activate your eyes and keep watch on the people from Yamanaka clan. They have a very peculiar ability of ejecting their conscious and put it in other creatures. I want you to learn it. Quote. The girl nodded. To other people, it might be funny how the girl agreed so fast at the prospect of learning another bloodline technique from other clan, considering the word bloodline alone made sure that as a Hyuga, she shouldn't be able to do it. But just as her ancestor has said a few seconds ago, her blood and the presence of karma seal on her hand made sure that she was the closest person to be a pure Hyuga, with the exception of people from the Otsutsuki clan themselves. And all bloodlines in the world came from Kaguya without exception, the progenitor of Hyuga clan. Thus, Albeit it would be hard to do, she should be able to learn Yamanaka clan technique with some training. Although, sensei, if I may ask, considering we're going to graduate in a few months, shouldn't we train in our ninjutsu instead? When Iruka stopped his talk, the girl raised her hand up and said this with confidence in her tone. Around her, the kids were also nodding along, agreed at what she said. Even Naruto was giving her a happy and cute smile from where he stood, knowing Iruka won't leave him in the classroom to stand with one leg if the others were to come out and train their jutsu. He's so cute. I guess that's true. Good idea, Hinata. Alright class, let go outside and train in usual chakra control technique before you guys start shooting technique. And just like that, the class was emptied almost instantly as the kids went out to the clearing beside the building. Yes, even Naruto, who had the biggest cute smile on his face. Within a minute, the girl was left alone. Good idea. This way, you can watch a Yamanaka technique up close. The heir of Yamanaka clan, Ino Yamanaka, was a member of her classroom, after all. I aim to please, Kaguya-sama. The girl spoke inside her mind as she took out a bento wrapped in expensive fabric from her bag and placed it inside Naruto's drawer. Once she did, the girl had a soft blush on her cheeks and a soft smile on her lips while she walked to the outside to follow the others. When the exercise ended, Naruto would be very hungry. She just hoped that the food she prepared for him was enough to fill his adorably big stomach. Say, Kaguya-sama, what am I going to do with Yamanaka clan technique once I mastered it? I have an idea, I'll tell you when the time's right. For now, you just need to learn it. Yes, ma'am. The girl called Hinata would have pouted when her question was not answered. The only reason she didn't was simply because she knew when Kaguya deemed her worthy enough to know, the woman will tell her without her needing to ask. She had known the rabbit goddess for 6 years. The woman has been her strict mentor since the day her father deemed her unworthy to bear the title of heir for Hyuga clan, after all. Flashback. For 6-year-old Hinata Hyuga, the firstborn of Hyuga's clan head, the day was upsetting enough when she was late to wake up and missed her chance to take a peek on her crush's morning routine. Then it became upsetting for real when she got herself beaten up in a sparring match against her cousin, Neji Hyuga. Followed by her father's usual harsh words as she got reprimanded. At first, she thought her day wasn't that bad because she was happy that it was also the very first day her little sister, Hanabi Hyuga, got her chance to train in their clan's sacred technique, the gentle fist. She cheered on her sister as she trains, of course. Alas, the day wasn't really that good for her. Hanabi seems to quickly grasp on the main aspect of gentle fist. And there's also no hesitancy in each of her strike. Say, why don't we vote for her to be the heir instead? Despite the elder said those words in a hushed manner, Hinata was still able to hear it simply because she was near him. Add the fact the elder in question didn't seem to care whether she was near or not. Another elder, the one first elder spoke to, gave a small nod here. That's true, but let's wait for another 2 years or so. If Hinata's indeed not worthy to become the heir, I think it would be prudent of us to give the title to little Hanabi. And when those words hit her ears, Hinata immediately went to her room to lament her inability to change the perception her family had when it come to her. Or, was it really her that need to change? Of course, do you really believe that the world will change their look just because you wanted it to? Just as she was lamenting her weakness, Hinata found herself startled when she realized that she was no longer inside her bedroom and actually stood on a hard and very wide stone flooring. In front of her, a few meters away, was a throne befitting a royalty. And sat on said throne, a regal woman about 2 meters in height can be seen. Staring at her with eyes filled with nothing but complication. Her eyes were a pair of Byakugan. Who are you? I'm your ancestor. You may call me Kaguya-sama, the mother of your so-called sage of 6 paths. There was a little hint of bitterness when the woman called the title of her own son. But Hinata didn't notice this because she was too shocked to hear that the ancestor of her clan was also the mother of such legendary figure. Which mean, her clan was a direct descendant of Sage of Six Paths. Wrong. The descendants of that son of mine split into Uchiha and Senju, the latter then split into Uzumaki. Yu Hyuga came from another son of mine, Hamura. Easily read what the girl was thinking. The goddess spoke before she could misunderstand and gain wrong knowledge. And that's not something she want. I see. My name is Hinata Hyuga, Kaguya-sama. Is there anything I could help you with? Maybe the woman's just an imagination that she made in her sadness. But still, Hinata tried to be as polite as possible to her ancestor just in case she is real. The woman was able to enter her consciousness, or she was the one who got pulled into the woman's domain, but there is one thing Hinata was sure of. She doesn't want to know what other things the woman can do to her if she offended her in some way. You used your head, that's good. The ancestor of Hyuga clan said, complimenting the girl who reminded her of her past self. Soft-spoken, weak, and so in love with a person that has been her son since he saved her from bullies. But still, the boy she has a crush in is the reincarnation of her dearest emperor. Similar to her or not, the little girl in front of her won't get any mercy from her if she didn't know her place. As for what I need, I'll give you a chance to choose, little one. Here, Kaguya stood to her full height, towering over the little Hinata with her unnatural height alone. And her eyes, they're cold. The boy you called Naruto is the reincarnation of my dearest husband, one that I have been waiting for 1,000 of years. Now choose, would you like me to devour all of your memories, soul, and body so I could fully revive myself and embrace my husband, or... Talking to a mere 6 years old child, Kaguya said all of these as slow as she can. All the while, she was walking to the terrified girl in question who cannot do anything except to back away, trying to get some distance between her and her ancestor. It didn't help at all, for some reason. Or you could change yourself. Be stronger until I deem you worthy to become my right-hand woman. And once you do, I might let you become my husband's concubine. When there was another choice except to die, Hinata nodded so fast that her neck let out a small cracking sound. Immediately agree simply because she didn't want to die, not like this. Amused, the goddess put a small, yet terrifying smile on her face. Good. For a quick second, Hinata felt a stinging sensation on her right hand. That's my karma seal, it'll slowly change your DNA until they're similar to mine. It will surely help you in your quest to become strong, do not disappoint me, little descendant. And just like that, Hinata returned to her bedroom, panting and crying in fear. As she sobbed, she thought and hoped that it was just a dream, a quick dream because she fell asleep for a few minutes. Alas, when she raised her right hand until it was at the same level as her face, she became a trembling mess. There, a mark can be seen, glowing with a soft, ancient chakra that was obviously not hers. And she cried. Back to the present. It has been 6 years since that day, and to one Hinata Hyuga, life wasn't that bad, honestly. Sure, for the first week since she met her ancestor, she was a trembling mess simply because the threat of death looming over her head was enough to make her terrified. But once said week passed, she fully comprehended what's the price gonna be if she disappointed her ancestor. And also, the gift she got and will get in the future for all of her troubles. Naruto-kun. It wasn't a surprise to her that her crush was the reincarnation of an emperor of the past. With his kindness and cute smile, he could be a god in his past life and it would be no surprise to her. She was still upset that she cannot become his only wife in the future though. But, to stand beside him as his concubine, taking care all of his necessities, that would be alright too. Hajime. Just as she was daydreaming, Hinata's thought was broken when she heard the scream of her teacher, Iruka Yumino, when he was calling the match for her Naruto-kun and his supposedly rival, Sasuke Uchiha. Even though it was obvious that there'd be no sparring and only chakra control technique today, it seemed the two was still able to convince Iruka that they needed to fight each other before they can start training. So adorable. Not Sasuke, of course. His smug smile alone was puke-inducing to her. As much as I want to see my dearest husband when he's still a boy and at his cutest, I sense the Yamanaka girl's chakra activate a little. It seems she's training in her clan technique, observe her. Without any argument, Hinata turned her attention to the girl's side of training field. And just like her ancestor had said, Ino was sitting in cross-legged position while doing a pose with her thumb and index fingers. Byakugan active, Hinata saw what most people simply cannot. Ino's chakra was moving gently from her core to her brain, it moved at quick pace unto her posed hands as if to shot. Although, the girl merely stopped the chakra in her hands before she did shoot her chakra and conscious away. And just like that, Ino kept repeating the chakra movement. I expected more from a clan specialized in mind techniques, but it seems I expected too much. Little descendant, you should be able to do that easily without any training. Don't mind the bloodline nonsense. From what I can see, the people from Yamanaka merely have more durable mind compared to normal people. Calling it bloodline when all they had was just more durable mind compared to most people, who are they kidding? So disappointing. I understand, ancestor. For half an hour or so, Hinata kept her focus on Ino just in case there was indeed some secret to Yamanaka's bloodline except their durable mind which let them able to shot said mind and latch it into another person consciousness. Alas, there was no such thing. And thus, once she was very sure of this, Hinata turned her attention to her Naruto-kun once again. His fight with Sasuke has ended by the time she did this, though. So unfortunate. With Naruto. I'm hungry. The boy with white hair said while pouting a little, holding his stomach as he went back to his classroom. He lost again. But this time, he actually felt Sasuke's kick to his ribcage, and it hurt. His rival has become much stronger since the last time they sparred with each other. So upsetting. Quote, quote. Just as he thought like this, Naruto sat on his chair and pulled on his drawer just to amuse himself. Although, he blinked his eyes several times when he saw a nicely wrapped bento sat inside it. And on top of it, a small note. For my Naruto-kun. Don't give up, I'll always cheer on you from the side even if you don't know I exist. Yours sincerely, the Moon. Moon. There was no one named Moon in his classroom or any other classrooms. But this person has been giving him what he needs when he really needed them. For example, this bento, considering he was indeed hungry as hell. Of course, at first, he thought it was the ghost who haunted him. However, when he talked with his Gigi about it, the old man merely laughed and said that Moon was actually someone who admired him very much, just like how Sakura admired Sasuke. How did the old man know? He didn't ask. Nor did he ask why this Moon wasn't so open with their feeling to him, unlike Sakura who screamed her feeling for Sasuke at the top of her lung almost every single day. But then again, he understood. He's a pariah, people called him a demon here and there. Whoever this Moon is, they probably don't want him to get an additional problem in his hands just by having such a good friend who was kind enough to watch over him like a guardian angel. After all, even till now he didn't know how to apologize to Tuki and his daughter, considering their sale has gotten negative hits since the day they accepted him in their ramen stand. That's one of the reasons he always ate so much bowls in one sitting. Thank you, Moon, I hope that someday we can become a friend for real. Clapped his hands with a shy smile on his face, Naruto muttered a small prayer before he unwrapped the bento from its cloth binding. And he was hit by such delicious aroma when he did. Thus, Naruto ate his lunch all by lonesome once again. But with nothing except for happiness in his heart, knowing that someone actually care about his well-being. It's good. Whoever Moon was, Naruto was glad that they're a good cook. Back with Hinata, the clan heir of Hyuga let out a soft smile of happiness when she saw Naruto devouring the food she prepared for him with such gusto and such happiness on his face. It really made the time she spent in the morning cooking worth it. Of course, even with such big portions she prepared for him, Naruto-kun still finished all of it in less than a minute. And once he did, he wrapped the bento back with the cloth and put it inside his bag. He's probably planning to wash it before he put it back in his drawer tomorrow morning. Hey, so cute. She's going to take that bento box from his bag later when he was not around. After all, he can just do whatever he wanted or just sit tight as cute as possible and let her do the chores for him. Just as she thought like this, her crush came out of the classroom once again, looking for something. Or someone. TEME. I'm full now. I dare you to fight me at my 100%. Yeah. Something like that. For a bit, Hinata's smile became a little bit wry. Just what did her Naruto-kun saw in such prick like Sasuke? She simply cannot guess the answer. I told you to kill that boy, he annoys me greatly and he keep hurting my husband. If you don't want to, I will. Kaguya spoke, like a woman who was talking about the weather. And here, Hinata's smile became even more wry. Kaguya-sama, it's not that I don't want to. However, Naruto-kun seems to befriend Uchiha-san in his own way, I simply don't want to take his friend away from him. It would devastate him. The day Naruto heard about Sasuke's death, Hinata was 100% that he'd bawl his eyes out like there was no tomorrow. Because to him, Sasuke was his best friend no matter how it looked like in the outside. And as someone who loved Naruto dearly, she doesn't want to take part in anything that could upset him. Plus, the Hokage has become much more active in his search for the ghost. After all, you kidnapped 100 civilian women in this year alone, Kaguya-sama. To kill the last loyal Uchiha will not only Naruto-kun's ire, but also the ire of the whole Konoha population. Quote, Kaguya didn't give Hinata any answer to her statement. Mostly because she actually kidnapped more than 100 women in the last year. 100 was only the number of women she kidnapped from Konoha. Well, not really her. Just Zetsu who she ordered to do so. As for Hinata's reason for not wanting to kill Sasuke, well, she didn't want to agree, but she had to, considering it was the truth. Anyway, I need them, both for my UAL need and to increase the number of my army. Kaguya spoke about the kidnapped women as she no longer wished to talk about stupid Uchiha descendant and her plan to kill him, yet. Now, as for the women she kidnapped, she just had to. After all, her libido won't die down by itself. And her dearest husband's still a few months away from his 12 years birthday. Once he reached 12 though, she won't need those mindless women who can only moan as they got raped. After all, 12 years old mean he was old enough to kill and have. She will train her dearest so he won't have a back pain from each in the future. As for how she's going to have with him, she already got the plan in her head. Kaguya-sama, please, calm down. Because they were literally sharing one body, when Kaguya began to think dirty, the heat on Hinata's groin began to get warmer and needy. Alas, her ancestor was ruthless. I can't. Go to the bathroom if you really need a release. Thus, with a red face and wet groin, Hinata ran to the bathroom as quick as she could after she asked the permission from Iruka. Ah, Naruto-kun must have thought her as weird again, considering he probably saw her ran to the direction of the bathroom on his way to challenge Sasuke for the second time. Alas, it was just her luck that when Hinata arrived at the female side of the school toilet, the only person there was a woman who she knew as Kanade, the teacher who taught her class a few times when Iruka wasn't available. The woman wasn't as beautiful as some older kunoichi that Hinata knew, but still. She knew what to do when her groin began to feel so hot that it was rather uncomfortable. Kanade-sensei, good afternoon. Oh, Hinata-chan, are you going to use the toilet? Go on, I just finished seconds ago. The woman responded kindly the moment she saw one of her temporary students from Iruka's class. Of course, She had to say the last sentence because Hinata had a rather thick red patch on her cheeks, which she concluded that the girl already endured for too long and can no longer do it. Thank you, sensei, and I'm sorry. For a small second, the woman was confused about those last words that Hinata muttered. However, she didn't get any time to ask because not a second later, the ground under her began to get wet and ruthlessly yanked her downward into the darkness of the shadow. Goo started to fill her mouth as several tendrils caught her limbs and hundreds of shadowy tentacles began to rape every inch of her body. Each movement gave her a jolt of pleasure that she never felt before. And just like that, she lost her mind a few minutes later from overpleasure. The kids were fearful. Each of them was scared to their core when they heard that one of their sensei has been missing for a whole week. The worst part was, not even the people from Inuzuka were able to track the woman. Sure, they tracked her to the toilet, but from there, not a single clue, except for the scent of other girls and women who came to the toilet to do their things. And thus, right now Naruto stood in front of his grandfather figure with hands folded over his chest. No, Gigi, I told you already, I was fighting with Tem when Kanade-sensei disappeared. And I didn't sense or see anything else. Are you really sure, Naruto-kun? You know it's not like I don't want to believe you. But this ghost that haunt you, it has started to take this village's people one by one. And thus far, only you who can sense it when it's near. Here, Naruto's eyes trembled in fear. He knew that, but still. I can't sense it, Gigi. I just can feel it when it stare at me, plus, I am terrified of it. I can't help you at all, plus, you have that group of yours. Yep, he's terrified of this ghost that began to eat more and more people as days passed. And he was not going to lie about this, not in front of the Hokage. After all, if he ever put a stupid bravado, his Gigi would surely put him inside that special group under him. Ghost Hunter. Meh. Just a group consisting of many holy people sent by the fire capital to hunt the ghost that haunted him for years. But thus far, they are yet to succeed despite the years they spent in the village. And yet only you can do such thing to this day, my boy. As for the ghost hunter, I'm afraid they gave up and decided to return to the capital in a few months. Really? I never heard this, Naruto said with a pair of wide eyes. Said eyes were trembling because he bought some ghost-repelling talismans that he used in his house from those people. If those people were to go back to the capital, won't he become defenseless if the ghost chose to attack him? Hiruzen nodded with a pair of saddened eyes. Alas, before they could depart, the ghost massacred them. The men were killed without wounds, as if their souls were ed from their bodies. As for the women, they disappeared just like the other women before them. The only reason Naruto was yet to hear about such a rumor was because he had to put a tight lid on such news. He didn't want his villagers to become a panic mess. It was here, Naruto stared at him with fear in his eyes. No. Yes, I'm afraid the ghost haunting you has become too strong to handle, my boy. That's the reason I need you to help with the search. It was here, for the first time in his life, Hiruzen saw Naruto put his palms together and bowed at him as if to apologize. And his face, it looked as if it held no blood whatsoever from how pale he was. I am truly sorry, Gigi. Butidentwanto. Thus, like a man possessed, Naruto ran away from the Hokage's office before his grandfather figure could force him to search for the ghost. Nope. He's not going to be that stupid, ever. Later. It was a few minutes later that Naruto arrived at the mostly empty academy, where he began to walk to the academy training ground with a slower gait. The school was held off for a few days to mourn their missing teacher, as if the woman has died and won't come back, ever. He didn't like it, but, for Naruto, it just meant he can train all by himself until he was satisfied. Oh, Naruto-kun, are you here to train? Although, when he arrived at the academy training ground, he didn't expect to see one of his classmates, Hinata Hyuga, to be there. And from the look of it, It seemed like she has been training for a few hours. Yes. Are you finished with yours, Hinata? Naruto said with a small shudder when he heard the kun suffix from someone so mysterious like Hinata. Hinata Hyuga, arguably the most mysterious girl in his class simply because she didn't seem to admire Sasuke like other girls. Hell, he saw her puke once after Sasuke greeted her. Not only that, every time he got close to her in the past, her cheeks would turn red for some reason. And thus, he concluded that Hinata Hyuga was allergic to males. You can say that, the girl in front of him said, and just like usual, her cheeks began to turn red the moment she got close to him. You can use the training ground if you wish now, Naruto-kun. Taking her rest, Hinata went to the side where her bag was and sat. She was watching him with a strange glint in her eyes, for some reason. Yeah, okay then. Albeit somewhat shy at first, Naruto still began his own training and entered his zone a few minutes later when he no longer noticed the girl. Though, when half an hour passed, Hinata suddenly talks. Naruto-kun, I think you should learn how to use sword and bow. Startled, Naruto stopped his kata and turned his attention toward Hinata. The girl was eating some snack she prepared, and in her eyes, he didn't see any hint of a joke whatsoever. But still, why? Just a gut feeling that say you'll be good with them. Bow and sword, Naruto mused to himself. Why Hinata gave him such a suggestion, he honestly had no idea. I'm sorry, but I can't do that. Naruto said this to her as he continued his kata, this time a little bit slower because he knew Hinata would continue and it would be rude if he ignored it. As for why he refused her suggestion, well, a bow wouldn't be a problem, but as for a sword, they're rather pricey. It's alright, I'll buy them for you later. As if she was able to read his exact thought, Hinata said this. Of course, when he heard such a thing, Naruto stumbled a little from the shock he felt. He didn't expect that. You don't need to, Hinata. But still, I am thankful for the thought, and please excuse me, I'll go there to train my kunai throwing. Definitely felt a little bit unnerved by Hinata's strange behavior, Naruto scratched the back of his neck and told her this. And once he did, he walked in the direction of the throwing targets before Hinata could say anything else. She was a little bit stranger than usual. With Hinata herself, she let out a small, trembling sigh when she was able to control her body once again. She lent it to her ancestor just now. Kaguya-sama, I think Naruto-kun think of me as a strange girl now. More than he did previously. Her ancestor didn't give her any answer for a few minutes. But once said few minutes passed, the woman harumphed with nothing but annoyance in her tone. It's your fault, your body lacked charm and maturity. Back in the days, my husband would do nothing but to stare at my eyes when I spoke. Kaguya said honestly, only to get a small wry smile from her descendant. Kaguya-sama, I'm still 12. Your body has been enchanted with my DNA. It should look around 14 years old and not 12. Here, Hinata didn't give her ancestor any answer. 12 or 14, she's still a child, that won't change overnight, goddess DNA or not. But just as she thought like this, Hinata felt the mark on her hand burn a little. Unlike what she thought at first, the goddess really took that rejection from her husband personally. And the woman's anger, it ran through her body. Though before she could say anything else, she was cut off. Enough, after you graduate, you shall enter one of the domains where I store all the women I took. Time there runs slower than the real world, so you should be able to train your techniques as your body absorb the energy there. But Kaguya-sama, what about my career as shinobi? As if to call her stupid, the goddess merely huffed. And Hinata knew that the woman must have folded her hands on her chest when she did. All the while, looking at her with annoyance. You'll be saved. Unlike that teacher I took a week ago, you're a classmate of my husband. You're one among his people. So, He won't abandon you and he will do everything he can do to save you, even if it means to enter the domain to follow you. Plus, once Hiruzen opened the lid about Hinata being the moon, Naruto would do nothing but charge, even if it meant facing his own deepest fear. That's just how kind her husband was in the past, and she was pretty sure he won't change much despite the cycle of reincarnation he had. He was the emperor, to care for his people was his driving force to move forward. I see, then I'll train in the domain just as you tell me to do, Kaguya-sama. Hinata said in the end as she stared in the direction Naruto went to. How slow the time in the domain run through compared to the real world, her ancestor didn't say anything. But still, let's scratch off about the fact her body's yet to mature for now. The fact is, power. There was no way she was going to deny more power if she can help it. Time skip. A few months since Hinata tried to buy him a bow and sword, Naruto woke up on his bed with a small groan. But because he knew today was an important day, he didn't let his laziness take over and with a little bit of determination, he sat and stood, then walked in the direction of the bathroom. Yawn. He still let out a massive yawn, though. Quote. Staring at the mirror, Naruto began to wash his mouth and brush his teeth. Yesterday his birthday was pretty eventful. Ichiraku Ramen lets him eat so many bowls of ramen for free. Uruka gave him a new set of kunai and shuriken. His Jiji gave him some anti-ghost talismans that he got before the massacre of holy men and women. And Moon, well, she gave him some books to read. Sigh. She probably knew about his school grade getting lower. IWT's NWOTMHFHAULT, though. Naruto said to himself as he spat some water from his mouth. Yeah, it was not his fault that his grade getting lower. With how active the ghost is at kidnapping people these days, he simply became too paranoid because every damn hour or so, he would feel it. The stare. And nope. He's not going to tell his Jiji about it. Knowing the man, he would definitely ask him to help his Anbu to search for the ghost the moment he heard about this single piece of information. Oh well, let's just get ready to go to school. Good morning. Good morning to you too, Hinata-san. Naruto greeted back politely to the girl who immediately had her face flushed red. Unlike a few months ago when she suddenly wanted to buy a pair of a bow and sword for him, Hinata had become a little bit normal, as normal as she usually did, of course. Although, she would occasionally greet him when they met each other on the street. To him, well, she was not really his friend, but more like an acquaintance simply because he didn't want her to get into trouble by having a friend like him. She's an heir to a pretty well-known clan, after all. Thus, after Naruto greeted back his newest acquaintance, he sat on his seat at the back near the window, waiting until his teacher come. Today, he was going to get assigned to a squad. And as strange as it might sound, he really hoped to get paired with Sasuke. As for why, the Uchiha was the only person in the class he could comfortably call a friend. In the Hokage office. Dad, why did you change the team assignment suddenly like this? In front of the Hokage, several Jonin stood with strange expressions on their faces while holding a sheet of paper in their hands. Asuma, the Jonin leader of Team 8, was the one who spoke just now. Puff. I found out about Naruto-kun's talent for espionage and scout. So, I had to put him in Team 10, which was planned to be a scout team and not Team 7, assault. The Hokage said simply after he puffed out a rather large sum of smoke from his lips. In his eyes, there was no telltale of a sign to rechange his decision. Hokage-sama. With no disrespect, but why so sudden? And as for Naruto-san, no matter how good he is at scout, with the Kyuubi inside him he would be a frontline fighter no matter what. This time, these words came out from Kakashi Hatake, the Jonin leader for Team 7 and the supposed teacher for Naruto. Beside him, his friends nodded their heads in agreement. That is true, sir, and this change, Team 8's not even composed of Ino Shika-cho anymore. Did the clan leaders say anything about this? Kurenai, the only female among the three, said, trying to gauge and understand the current situation she and her other Jonins had to face so suddenly. For the answer, the Hokage merely tapped his smoking pipe on the table a little. He would be good as frontline fighter. But something made me change my decision, and that something cannot be told to you Jonins, and yes, Kurenai, I consulted this situation with the shinobi's clan heads prior to the change. All of them agreed with the change. You don't need to fear their disagreement with it. That startled the three Jonins. This was seen from their widening eyes. All shinobi's clan heads agreed. There's no way such a thing could happen if the sole reason was Naruto had a talent for scout, their minds concluded. Now knew that there must be another bigger reason for the change. In the end, the three Jonins whose students changed so abruptly merely bowed a little. We understood, Hokage-sama. Good. Then go the academy. Your students must be waiting by now. Hi. Thus, the three disappeared and left nothing but 3 lone leaves in their wake. It was not until several minutes later that Hiruzen let out a very large sigh as he took a small note from his drawer. And written in it with blood, a threat. Do not separate the sun and the moon, or there'll be a consequence. And the night he got this message, 50 of his ANBUs were killed brutally and 50 more are now considered Mia. Moon, Hinata's pen name because she was too shy to get closer to Naruto. And Sun, Naruto, simply because he was the only person looked up by the moon in question. Puff. Who are you, and why are you so interested in my grandson? Hiruzen mused to himself as he stared at the note, trying and failing to decipher any hidden message in it if there was any. Understandably, he didn't find anything. Back with Naruto. Team 7, Sasuke Uchiha, Sakura Haruno, and Kiba Inuzuka. Your team leader will be Kakashi Hatake. The scream Sakura made that day was the biggest and loudest Naruto ever heard, so much louder that he immediately plugged his ears with his fingers. Alas, the boy with Inuzuka's bloodline wasn't so fortunate. Not that he cared, though. Still, it was rather unfortunate that he wasn't put on the same team as Sasuke. Oh well, it's not something he can and should complain about because as a shinobi, he had to be professional and learn to work well with people he wasn't close with. Team 8, Shikamaru Nara, Choji Akamichi, and Shino Aburame. Your team leader will be Asuma Sarutobi. Okay. There were a few mutters from the children the moment the names for Team 8 were called. But it was not surprising, considering it was well-known information that Shika, Choji, and Ino would be put into one team because of their family's connection with each other. What changed? Team 9 is still active, and so, Team 10 will be Hinata Hyuga, Naruto Uzumaki, Ino Yamanaka. Your team leader will be Kurenai Yuhi. Uncaring of a few stares of jealousy from some boys, Naruto raised his right hand almost immediately. His eyebrows crouched. Sensei, I thought it was not recommended for a team to have more than 1 or 2 females. So why my team has 3 in it? He didn't really remember why it wasn't recommended for a team to hold more than 2 females at the same time. But he still remembered the exact words that it wasn't recommended in the book he read, and in some lectures Iruka gave him. For the answer, Iruka merely nodded. That is true, however, the change was made by Hokage-sama and approved by the clan heads. It's non-negotiable, Naruto. Quote. Naruto merely nodded here. Change made by the Hokage alone might not much. Consider he might be able to try to talk with his Gigi if that alone was the case. But the fact it was approved by the clan heads made him nod in defeat. He cannot change that. Just as he thought like this, a beautiful woman with red eyes and a nice-looking battle dress appeared in front of the classroom. And her beautiful appearance alone made some boys blush. Not him, though. Team 10, with me. Professionally, Naruto nodded and stood as he began to follow his new teacher along with Hinata, who gave him a cute smile, and Ino who gave a longing look at Sasuke Uchiha, only to get no response at all from the emo. What a prick. It's nice to have you in the team, and Naruto-kun. It's nice to have you too, Hinata. I heard many good things about Hyuga clan's prowess. Naruto said while returning the smile Hinata gave to him. Polite to the people who are polite to him, and ruthless to the people who are ruthless to him, that was his motto. As for Hinata, well, she was a little strange with her red face every time he was near and all, but at the end of the day, she never belittled him or speak bad things behind his back. She was polite, and thus, he's going to be polite to her too. Oh my, how about me, Naruto? Have you heard good things about me too? Ino said, suddenly interrupting his and Hinata's smiles at each other. Of course, Naruto didn't really care that much about this and simply gave the heir of Yamanaka a small nod. Unknown to him, Hinata's eyes were shadowed by her bangs the very second Ino interrupted her moment with him. I guess so, but I do like the flower seeds your family sell in your shop. Oh yay, I did hear from my ma you're one of our regulars. I almost didn't believe it at first, you know. And thus, Team 10 talked with each other as they followed their team leader. A bond made, if one could say. Alright, for now let's get to know each other. My name's Kurenai Yuhi, Jonin, Genjutsu specialist. I like my friends, I don't like men who can't stand with their own feet, and my hobby is something I'd rather not say. You next, Hinata. Sat under the shade of a rather large tree, Naruto watched as his newest sensei began to introduce herself. She seemed like a decent person, his mind concluded. My name's Hinata Hyuga, Genin. I'll like training and as someone who helped me in the past. I don't like people who belittled others just because their upbringing. And my hobby is sewing. Hinata said shyly while poking her index fingers at each other, all the while, her face became redder and redder as each second passed. And when he saw this, Naruto blinked a few times. Hinata, she's adorable. But, she has someone who she liked. Geez, what a lucky guy. That's good, Hinata. Ino, your turn. There was a small smile on Kurenai's face when she saw Hinata finish her sentence without fainting when the object of her affection in question sat just a few meters away from her. He didn't seem to realize that the person she liked was him, though. What a pity. My name's Ino Yamanaka, I like Sasuke-kun. I don't like that pig Sakura, and my dream is to open my own flower shop somewhere in the future. For a small second, Kurenai Yuhi's lips twitched downward a little when she saw how smitten her new student was toward one Uchiha heir. Yes, Hinata's also smitten with Naruto, but it's different. For one, Hinata never dieted to make herself look beautiful, and actually always train hard because Naruto always does. As for the boys in question, Naruto was a hard worker who never complained about the villagers' treatment of him. He was also someone who seemed never to look back and always looks forward to the future. He's a good kid. In contrast, Sasuke, thinking about that prick alone was enough to put a headache in her head. It'd take a miracle for that boy to grow up into a fine man, that's for sure. Okay, your turn, Naruto. Yes, sensei. From his place, Naruto nodded a little. And after he did, his eyes went to his Jonin sensei's eyes and only that. Another point for him, Kurenai concluded. After all, gods know just how many males stared at her body, men and boys alike. My name's Naruto Uzumaki, I like ramen and training. I don't like stupid people. As for my dream, I want to change this world. Conviction. For a few seconds, Kurenai's eyes widened from how much conviction she heard from Naruto's tone when he said his dream. Yes, she has heard so many times from the other Jonins about how the Kyuubi Jinchuriki's dream is to change the world. But hearing it from the source, she could see how serious Naruto was about it. None was able to pry his meaning, though, and she's pretty damn sure she won't be able to do so. She'll respect his privacy. That's some conviction you have there, Naruto-san. Although, I am rather confused. From the rumor going around, I heard a ghost is haunting you, yes. You don't hate it? Kurenai asked with a hint of curiosity in her tone. Naruto was haunted by a ghost long since he was a baby. And from what she heard, Naruto himself was scared shitless of ghosts or anything supernatural. So, it was rather strange that he wasn't hating the ghost haunting him. It was here, Naruto shook his head. It's true that I am scared. But I don't hate the ghost in question. It'd take more than a few years of haunting for me to hate someone, ghost or not, sensei. Naruto said with nothing but honesty. Yes, he's scared shitless of ghosts. But to hate the ghost stalking him for years. One who fed him when he was a child too, nonetheless. Nope. Just nope. Okay. For a bit, Kurenai was confused. Did the boy forget that the ghost in question has been killing and kidnapping people left and right? Oh well. Anyway, let's start our training for today. Normally, she would test the three for their teamwork. But considering this team's made with all council members' approval, she probably cannot deny these three of their genin status even if she wanted to. And thus, training. Let's just hope Ino can catch up to training maniacs like Naruto and Hinata. Later that night, Naruto remembered he was just closing his eyes. But now, floating inside nothing but darkness, the boy started to look left and right. Where? Is this a dream? Naruto asked with trepidation in his tone. More so when he felt hundred to thousand of familiar stares of the ghost all around him, caging him. Or is it ghosts now? From fear, Naruto's eyes began to get wide as his body shook like a falling leaf. I'm not scared of why you. Why you better get ready to get a fist to why your face, ghost. Floating, it was hard for him to know which way was up and which way was down. Nonetheless, the fear he experienced was enough to push down any sickening feeling his body felt. And it was then, for the first time in his life, the ghost haunting him gave him a response. In the shape of a laugh, that is. Yufufufufu. The voice was booming, enchanting, and came from all directions. And the power behind it. It was enough to freeze Naruto on his feet. No, not even Hokage could exclude this much pressure just by laughing. His fists trembled, his eyes wavered, and across his body, every part of him screamed at him to run, to hide from the monstrosity that is yet to come. Naruto ignored all of these, not because he was brave. But because he cannot move from his position. He's scared. He's so scared. Don't come closer. As his voice cracked, tears started to gather in Naruto's eyes. And maybe it was his voice, or maybe it was the sight of him starting to cry. Whichever it was, the stares from all around him disappears just like that. However, one still remains. Right in front of him. SSSSSH. Don't cry, I won't tease you anymore, my dearest. As the shadow gathered and formed the shape of a woman in front of him, Naruto's eyes were immediately drawn to her. Tall, was the first thought that crossed his mind. So tall that if they were to stand side by side, he probably would only reach her stomach. And yet, when he saw her eyes, any fear disappears from his whole body. Simply because the woman's eyes held nothing but kindness and adoration for him. For him. MNN, oh how I miss seeing that expression on your face, husband. Naruto was too lost in his staring that when the woman in front of him spoke, it immediately broke him from his thought. And what did she say just now? Husband. Did this woman mistake him for someone else? Quote. Alas, for some reason, he was not able to speak his question. The woman in front of him didn't seem too surprised by it, however. As the smile on her lips began to get lower. Seem like the pressure of my soul is too much for your body to handle. Again, Naruto was about to ask something but can't because his mouth refused to speak. And it was here, the ghost knelt on her knees and spread her arms as wide as possible. Didn't know what she was going to do. The boy was about to try to move his body once again when he felt a sudden tug from the direction of the woman. Bansho tenon, erg men. Like a projectile, Naruto felt his body get pulled by a mysterious force the very second the woman spoke those two simple words. So fast that it should be painful at the time of impact. But it didn't, simply because his face met with her soft bosom clad in a very expensive-looking kimono. And the moment his body met hers, her arms closed on him, cradling him in a fear-inducing embrace, refusing him any chance to escape. Flap, flap. For some reason, Naruto was able to move his body after he got captured. And wasted no time at all, he immediately struggled. Alas, his attempt was futile as the woman refused to budge. It was a minute or so later that Naruto stopped. Not because he was tired, but because he felt some sort of liquid falling to his head. And when he looked up from the ghost's bosom, he saw it. The woman hugging him, she was crying despite the smile on her lips. She was so happy that she cried. Husband, this time, I'll protect you. So please, just wait for me. Frozen because of her words, Naruto didn't do anything when the mysterious woman leaned her face down and gave him a chaste and very soft kiss on the forehead. And after she did this, Naruto saw an expression he never saw pointed at him on her face. Love. This time, I won't let you die. Even if I have to wipe out all humanity from existence, that way, we could be together, forever. That's a promise of a lifetime. Another woman spirited away by the ghost that haunt Naruto, if one could say. Naruto woke up with sweat covering all over his face. All across his body, every strand of hair was standing upright from the feeling of fear he experienced just a few seconds ago. Was that her? Naruto muttered to himself as the memory of last night's dream came to him so vividly. Without any question, he was 100% sure that the woman he met was the ghost haunting him for years. She loved him. And yet, to revive herself, she's going to kill every living human across all nations. That woman, I have to stop her. Naruto said to himself. Fear was obvious in his voice. And yet, his conviction was definitely not a lie. He still remembers how heavy the pressure of her chakra was. How she could control gravity with ease. And how, in front of her, how powerless he was. That information was enough for Naruto to realize that no humans would be able to clash against her and win. Hell, not even Hokage could win against that kind of power. That woman, she's not a human. She called me husband. She also didn't harm him and actually said that she wants to protect him. Naruto was pretty sure she won't have the same feeling for other humans, which mean, only he could stop her before she could rampage through all the nations. Gigi. He has to tell his Gigi about this. But let's just wait for a few minutes before he could do that. After all, he still cannot feel his legs. Later. Bam. Gigi. There's something I need to tell you about. Still pale, but definitely can move his legs, Naruto slammed the door to the Hokage office open and yelled. However, there was a telltale of embarrassment in his eyes when he saw the presence of all council members along with his Jonin sensei, Kurenai Yuhi. Boy, you dare to barge into this office and interrupt our meeting. Naruto gulped down his saliva in fear when he got the full brunt of a creepy glare from Hyuga's clan head. Along with several other glares from the other council members. Cough. Fortunately for him, help came in the shape of his Gigi who coughed into his fist. And just like that, the glares disappeared as everyone's attention returned to the wistful Hokage. Here, said Hokage spoke. Now, don't be so hasty. Naruto-kun was never a rude kid. He'd never interrupt the council meeting if it's not a dire situation. Isn't that right, my boy? Now tell me, do you have any new information? About the ghost haunting you, perhaps? Just like that, the council members shut their mouths. Although in their eyes, telltale of curiosity began to dance, along with a hint of impatience in the Hyuga clan head's case. Still, how did the old man know? Slightly unnerved, Naruto asked this single question. How did you know? For a few seconds, the Hokage merely let out a puff of smoke from his weary lips. And only after that, did the old man give the boy his answer. And said answer, Naruto didn't like it. You are usually a light sleeper, my boy. It surprised me that you didn't wake up. But to answer your question, there was an earthquake last night, a big one too at that. And from what I could gather from my ANBUs, it seems several huge gates popped out across all nations. Where the gate goes, we are yet to know the answer. However, the sensor ninjas could sense hundreds different chakra signatures from each gate. We believe each gate will lead us to a place where the kidnapped women being kept. Again, Naruto gulped down his saliva in fear. Normally, this would be the time for Naruto to run away before his Gigi could force him to help with the investigation. But with the ghost in question already visiting him, he can no longer run away. Plus, the fact that said ghost didn't seem to have any intention to harm him was enough to give some backbone, no matter how small it is. Ghost is still his phobia, thank you very much. I see, then I will tell you about my meeting with her last night. And just like that, Naruto got everyone's attention. It was harder than he thought at first. For one, he had to hide the fact that the ghost called him husband. After all, he doesn't want to know what the council going to do to him if that single piece of information leaked out. Secondly, he had to hide the ghost's appearance. He saw her by a Kugan, but he was pretty sure she was not someone from the Hyuga clan. If he told the council this single piece of information, who knows what kind of backlash the Hyuga clan was going to receive. Better safe than sorry. Thus, he was forced to tell the council that yes, he cannot see the ghost's appearance clearly, and yet he's pretty sure that the said ghost was a woman. He also told the council about the ghost's strange adoration for him and her apparent protectiveness toward his well-being. As for the last thing he told the council, he told them of her dream. Crack. Hokage-sama, with all due respect, we cannot let this woman revive herself. She's already so strong even as a soul, I'm afraid no human would be able to compete with her if she's to be fully revived. Came another voice from the Hyuga clan head. His voice was followed by the nods of several other clan heads. But, Naruto can't help but notice that the man seemed so antsy for some reason. What happened? I agree, for the last several years, this ghost has been haunting this village. Killing people indiscriminately and kidnapping women left and right. The only reason the other villages are yet to attack us is simply because they got the same problem in their hand. We have to take action against her, and soon. This time, the calm voice came from the head of the Nara clan, Shikaku Nara. Again, several people nodded along, agreeing with what the man just said. Murmurs also began to start, although, every voice died down when the Hokage raised his right hand. I see. For a minute or so, the Hokage used his hand to comb his whitish goatee. And once he did, his eyes immediately went to Naruto. The council, seemingly realizing what the Hokage wanted, also turned their attention toward Naruto. Some with glee, some with distrust, and some with silent hope. My boy, are you 100% that the ghost won't harm you? Why yes, I'm pretty sure she won't hurt me. Slightly uncomfortable when the usually cold Hiashi gave him such a hopeful look behind his cold facade, Naruto said these words. And it was here, the Hokage across from him gave him a proud smile. Good. Then Genin Naruto Uzumaki, I'll give you an S-rank mission. Enter the ghost gate in front of the Forest of Death and save all women inside, including the heiress of Hyuga and Yamanaka clan, Hinata Hyuga and Ino Yamanaka. I expect you to enter the gate a few hours from now, don't disappoint me. Wait, what? Hinata and Ino, his newest teammates. The girl who kept blushing every time he was near, that Hinata. And the girl who kept talking about Sasuke, that Ino. Any fear, any anxiousness, and any doubt disappeared from Naruto's eyes the moment he heard that single fact. In his eyes, the light of conviction can be seen. He's going to save them both. Sir. Yes, sir. For now, he's going to get some supply he'd need in this first mission of his. S rank. Here he comes. Flashback. As the earthquake stopped in its track, one Hinata Hyuga stood from her sitting position. In her eyes, a hint of conviction can be seen. Behind her, large gate seemingly made of fleshes pulsed powerfully every few seconds. Just like a vein connected to one huge, beating heart. Are you ready now, descendant? Answering the question given by her ancestor, Hinata nodded. Even from the outside of the gate, Hinata could feel it when some stray, leaking out chakra entered her system, trying to give her body more power than it already has. The moment someone blessed by Kaguya enters that gate, large power will be hers. Power and chakra taken by thousands of women, that's it. But she won't be bothered by the details, after all, power is power. And she will use that power to protect her Naruto-kun. To stay by his side forever. Kaguya-sama, may I have a request for Ino to be taken into one of your gates? Hinata said darkly after a few seconds of thinking. She still remembered it vividly when her moment with her dearest got interrupted by that stupid girl. And honestly, it was so vexing that the word, anger, alone was not enough to explain the bubbling feeling in her chest. Livid, that's what she's feeling at the moment. And she wants Ino to pay for her transgression against her. From the depth of her karma seal, Kaguya laughed. Yufufufu, of course, descendant. It seems you have become more mature and begun to know that a slight against us is by no means a forgivable deed. With her connection, Hinata felt it as a creature came out from another gate and dashed toward Konoha at almost unbelievable speed. Knowing there will be no more, Ino, once the night ended, Hinata let out a soft, almost innocent smile at nothing. And once she did, she turned around and walked toward the flesh-like gate. Sensing her presence, the gate pulsed with such powerful energy for a quick second. And just like that, Hinata disappears. The day she came out, her father and her clan elders will regret their slight against her through all these years. Believe it. Time skip. How long has it been? 4 years. 5 years. Inside a rather small room made of brown concrete and bricks, Hinata fell to her butts and let herself rest for a few minutes until the dungeon refill her energy. And just like that, a few minutes later Hinata stood as if she wasn't tired in the first place. Although, this time, she didn't continue her training and merely walked to the edge of the room, where a simple bed made of several hundred pieces of clothing can be seen. And the first thing she took notice of was herself in the mirror. 5 years after her coming to this place, not only her power, but her body also has grown. Almost as tall as Kaguya herself, Hinata stood at 2 meters with a body that could make any woman jealous and any man droll in desire. Her S, tied so tightly by bandages, were actually H-cup had she let it out. But she didn't, simply because their sway always made her lose focus when she was training. Plus, no bra could cover them. She probably had to custom made it once she come out from the dungeon she was in. Anyway, she's no longer a little girl, but a young woman who's waiting for her Prince Charming to come to save her. Girl, he's coming. Just as she was sighing and wishing for her dearest to come, the voice of her ancestor rang inside her mind. And the words spoken were enough to wipe away her sadness and change the expression on her face into a smile full of happiness. At last. But it was only when a magic circle appeared on the ground a few meters away from her that Hinata realized that she was actually half. With panic in her system, Hinata began to search for any clothes that could be of some use to cover her body. It'd be so embarrassing if the first time Naruto saw her mature body is when she was, after all. With Naruto. Pant. The moment Naruto entered the gate, he felt lightless, just like when he met the ghost inside his dream. The feeling was then followed by another feeling of gravity pulling him downward as hundreds of colors passed his sight, which forced him to shut his eyes as tight as possible. A minute or so later, Naruto fell to his knees and began to pant. All around him, he cannot see anything but brown concrete and bricks. The sight was like some kind of ruin. Underground ruin, that is. considering the ceiling was covered with dirt and the fact the air in the place seemed to be so thin that it was rather hard for him to breathe. Naruto-kun, is that you? Just as he was complicating his whereabouts, Naruto heard a somewhat familiar voice. But more mature. It was only when he turned his head to the right that he saw her. Hinata. But at the same time, she didn't look like to be Hinata that he knew. Still, just to make sure. Hinata. Naruto-kun. Fear, hope, and happiness came out of the young woman's lips as she ran to him and gave him a rather tight hug. For a few seconds, Naruto had the urge to struggle and push the woman away. But when she began to sob on top of his head while her arms that constricted him trembled, he disregarded this urge and merely let her cast away all of her sadness. All the while, his hands patting her back somewhat awkwardly. Hug was not something he accepted frequently, unfortunately. Quote. And thus, Naruto sat there, feeling awkward because he has no experience comforting someone. At the same time, a blush began to creep into his cheeks as Hinata's bandage-clad s pushed themselves against his face so hard. There was something hard and chewy forcing itself into his mouth too. But Naruto ignored his mind that screamed, nipple, at him and did not do anything to the thing in question. Fortunately for him, a few minutes later, Hinata stopped her cries and broke their hug with red painting her cheeks. He was no different, of course. Hinata, are you okay? Standing as calmly as possible, Naruto tried to cover his shyness by patting some dust on his clothes. All the while, his eyes went toward Hinata, who for some reason became so big that she was almost as big as the ghost haunting him. Hell, Hinata was still kneeling on her knees and she was at the same level as his neck. The ghost. That woman towered over him even when she was kneeling down on her knees. Why yes, I'm fine, Naruto-kun. But you don't change that much even after all these years. Years. Startled, Naruto's eyes widened. More so when he sensed no lie from the words Hinata said just now. The woman in question looked at him as if he had a second head on his shoulder. Of course, it's been 5 years since I was kidnapped. I thought no one would save me. I'm so happy that you came for me, Naruto-kun. Shyness and honesty were obvious on Hinata's face. And when he saw this, Naruto can't help but nod. He didn't dare to say to her that it was only a day past in the real world. He didn't want to hurt her. Why yeah, I'm here now. So, you have been staying here since you got kidnapped. In a move that is definitely Hinata, the towering woman began to shyly play with her index fingers. On her cheeks, a hint of blush can be seen. She didn't change much even after the 5 years she spent here, it seems, getting redder for each second passed. Yes, Naruto-kun. Although, I met with someone calling herself Kaguya the first day I came. She said I could escape this PLA.